I'd like to call this regular council meeting for November 28th to order, please. And first of all, the adoption of the minutes from the November 14th meeting, Committee of the Whole, Regular Council, and Special Council.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was speaking louder. There we go. Can you hear me now? This cord is too restricted.
Yeah, it's tight. It doesn't go any further.
Okay, I'll try to do better. Council, I'd like to, are there any errors or omissions in the minutes from the November 14th meetings? None? We have a motion to adopt the minutes from the November 14th as a group?
Just say centered on.
Okay, yeah. Councillor Peak, Councillor Carlson, thank you. All in favor? Motion carries, thank you. Okay, 2.2, approval of public hearing report. CAO, we just move ahead on that?
Yeah, move a
Okay,
second.
this is just the minutes from the public hearing. Council, could we have a motion to that effect, please? Councillor Carlson, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Boot. All in favor? Thank you. We had have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Councillor Traynor, seconder. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving forward to our public hearing. I'd like to call the public hearing to order for our official community plan amendment for Conkle Mountain Park, bylaw 2016-040, and zoning bylaw amendment, Conkle Mountain Park bylaw 2016-0141. Now I'll outline the public hearing process. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had the opportunity to speak. Now I'll ask the Director of Development Services to introduce the first item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item up for public hearing is the rezone and official community plan designation of the property at Conkle Mountain from open land and agriculture to park on the official community plan, and rezone from forestry, grazing, and A1 agriculture to Parks and Recreation 1. And the properties under consideration are, I believe it's 8 properties on the north side of Conkle Mountain, shown in red on the screen. And you can see its location in the district of Summerland, adjacent to Trout Creek Canyon and the KVR Trail. And the Centennial Trail traverses through the property as well. And back in 2001 through 2006, the Centennial Committee that was struck by council to celebrate Summerland Centennial did a couple of projects with respect to this property. One was the creation of the Centennial Trail, and the second was the recommendation to designate the property as parkland on the community plan and dedicate the area as park for future generations. And it turns out when we did some search of our archive, we found that there was no actual bylaws that had been passed to bring council's wishes forward. So the property has never been designated on the community plan as park, and it has never been dedicated as park, even though there's a monument and sign at the trailhead suggesting that it has been done, and there was a ceremony in 2006 in that regard. So essentially this is a housekeeping matter. There's the the Centennial Trail, Trans-Canada Trail, sorry, going through the property. It is currently designated as open land and agriculture on the community plan, as I mentioned, and zoned as forestry grazing and A1. That is essentially the property we're talking about. There has been some correspondence on this item, mostly with respect to the concern that designating and zoning this as park will prohibit the use of horses, dogs, and mountain bikes on the property. And we do have a parks bylaw that is outdated that does prohibit animals in all city parks and all vehicles in all city parks, with the exception of bicycles, if you get off and walk them through the park. And there's been no intent to change the historic use of the park. And I just wish to advise the public that at the last meeting, when this item was brought forward, council did pass a resolution that directed staff to not enforce sections 3D and 3L of the Parks Regulation Bylaw in Conkle Mountain Park in relation to horseback riding, dog walking, and bicycle riding, as these activities are an historically accepted use of the property. And further, that staff be directed in conjunction with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and the Trails Master Plan to prepare an update of the Parks Regulation Bylaw 95-13 for council's consideration. So with respect to the designation and zoning of this property as park, which is the item of the public hearing tonight, that will result in no change in the historic use of those lands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we have the opportunity for public input. So we'll say this 3 times. Anybody, there's an opportunity for those in attendance to present their views for the first time. Anybody like to get up to the lectern and speak to this issue? They're free to do so at this time. Okay, a second time? Oh, sir, come ahead, sir.
Yes.
Hi, Tom Jensen from Fife Road, 12033 Fife Road. The last thing I heard at the last meeting was Councillor Traynor said we could revisit that down the road about boycotting bikers, hikers, equestrians. Am I right on that? Did I hear that?
Revisit?
Yeah, you said we could revisit that down the road. What I really want is for that to be set in stone. Can we put that in stone?
We can take his questions and.
We can take your questions now, and then when we visit the issue after the public hearing is completed, we'll be discussing the issue. So you're right at this point, you're giving us a question or your information, and we'll take that information and deal with it once the public hearing is finished.
Okay.
Okay?
So, I guess what I'm at, can I ask the question or not?
Yeah, well, you can go and ask the
Okay.
question.
Are we going to put it in writing that it's going to be the way that it is now?
Okay,
Historically?
Okay, that question then will be answered once the public
Okay.
hearing is finished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, may I?
Go ahead, please.
So the public hearing is to give the opportunity for members of the public to express your opinion. If you do have a question, council may or may not at the debate session ask the Director of Development Services or myself if there's any way that we can address those questions. So you can make it clear that your wish is one way or another. As an example in that question, the wish is that you would set it, make it in stone, that's is maintained.
Dave Carlton, taxpayer. I have lived in that area, but my property doesn't back on it, but very close to it. I'm back of the Jersey Range. We've been riding horses, hiking, and mountain biking, and with our dogs. Not a group of dogs, but a dog, which I have a problem with many dogs off leash up there. Something that should be addressed. If they're controlled, I don't mind seeing a bunch of dogs, but not a. We've run into 20 of them up there, not leashed, and we had an incident over it. The other issue I have is there is a illegal bike trail that has been built on part of that property up there, and it's being eroded at this time. quite badly. So illegal trails, I think, has to be an issue that's addressed. Okay, other than that, I don't see why anybody should be against having people up there walking and dogs and riding their horses and biking. It's a beautiful area. It's been going on for 30 years that I've been here, and there's been no issues. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, Waterman, and City Councilors. My name is Jody Deedles. I live on 12002 Fife Road. I have used Conco Mountain since 1979. It has been the only place for me to ride my horse as a young child into my adult years. Throughout the years, I have used this mountain by riding my horse, hiking my dogs, and biking the trails. I would say these are all multi-uses. It's with strong convictions and belief. It's important that we honor Conco Mountain and ensure that it remains a non-motorized, multi-purpose mountain with it free from privatization and commercialization. In my experience using the trails, coming across runners, joggers, hikers, bikers, and people on horses, it has always been positive. People are respectful because it's multi-purpose area. Everyone is on common grounds. In changing this multi-purpose area, multi-purpose trail into a designated bike trail can only lead to conflicts. At some point during people's travels, they will have to cross a designated bike trail, which could lead to conflicts. I've seen this on numerous occasions at the coast where the city has implemented designated trails for which, for whatever discipline has been decided, only led to people with developing attitudes and entitlements. I would like to think that our small community would stand strong and keep it open for all users. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for a second time, is there anybody that would like to speak to the issue, please? Yes, sir.
My name's Don Barron. I'm a bit confused about this, so I'd ask the question first. This is part of Conco Mountain? It's not the backside of it?
That's correct, it's the north side.
So it looks like we're coming across the summit and there's a backside to it?
That's correct.
So the reason I'm here is this is a grazing area. It's been grazed before, and historically it's been grazed. And as of right now, today, the Natural Lands and Resources have a vacancy on this property, so they're accepting proposals on it. And Rob Dinwiddie, the district manager, has suggested that they need to be consulted first, because there's people out there that are, I don't know who they are, that are applying for this land for grazing purposes. The last time I think it was used was, I was told today there was since Jack Young, but Jack Young used to use it, and it's the Range doesn't have necessarily any problem with the changing of the designation or any of that, but that the procedure, because Summerland has thousands of acres of this same land up in the Cartwright and that area, and we had problems back in 2004, and maybe some of you remember that, with us losing 600 acres from Area F to the Summer Hills Golf Course, and we never got that back, and we still use that land. But this particular land is the same as the other side of the mountain, or the land that's around there. I think council, my own personal opinion, is we should see that as agricultural land first. And I don't think that, I don't think horseback riding or anything was ever restricted. And I know if this has been going on since that long, 2006, I'm a bit behind the ball, but no one has notified the Crown that you wanted to change the designation of this land. And I think that maybe is a step that we may have overlooked. And, you know, but that's mostly all I have to say, except there's lots of other land that it's zoned agriculture. It's historically been agriculture. It's still used as agriculture, and it's sensitive bunch grass lands that if we just go from that to parks, I don't know what happens after parks, and I assume that would be in perpetuity for the future. But I don't think the jump necessarily should be from agricultural land to what may happen next on Deer Ridge and up there, just become residential without considering that it is agricultural land. And in Summerland, I've always thought that's what we overlooked, is that all of that land, there is more land than most of the rest of the orchards and stuff. But I won't ramble on because I couldn't do that. But the point I'm making is, and I thought I'd hear people here today who might say there was some agricultural options to that land. I don't know, maybe there are. I don't know. But
Okay.
anyway.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, for a third time, is there anybody who would like to address the issue? Yes, sir.
Your Worship, councilors, staff, Dean Olderisovich, 101-658 Victoria Drive of the Penticton variety. I'm just speaking in favor of any parkland for multi-use other than motorized, of course. There's nothing but benefit to be had from what I've seen. One thing I would like to point out, we have a similar mountain, Campbell Mountain. I'd look at dog walking issues. We have a lady who walks quite a number of dogs there, and there can be problems with that. So that's something I would point out you might want to have a look at. That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anybody else? Yes.
Hi, Simone Kutos, oops. 13514 Prairie Valley, Summerland. Good evening, Mayor Waterman and councilors. So I guess two things. To request a bylaw permitting off-leash dogs and horseback riding in the park. It's wonderful that we're going to have a bylaw that says it's not going to be enforcing the bylaws, but I think it's important that we actually have something that permits it as an activity in the park. So in the future, if we can have a new bylaw for that. My main concern, as you can see from my correspondence, are the mountain biking trails on Conkle Mountain. I would like for us to consider keeping it as a multi-use park. That's no designated trails. The trails are supposed to be used for everyone. What is happening over, especially the past year, trails are being modified and they are becoming single-use trails, and that means mountain biking trails. It's making it dangerous to walk, and I think it's limiting the amount of people that are coming to the mountain to enjoy nature, walking with their dogs and children, because it is becoming single-use. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, hearing no one else coming forward, Councilor. Oh, one more?
Sorry, last second here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mario Hood, I'm on 12803 Wright Avenue. Just the last comment on the mountain biking trails. Of course, having completely open anything goes is not the proper approach. At the same time, most of the trails out in the back there weren't there before the mountain biking. And so I bike, but I also hike. And anytime I've been up there hiking, 90% of the times, it's the mountain biking trails that have been maintained to minimize the erosion. Some of them aren't built properly, and it's the same for all the user groups, whether dogs are not, poop's not picked up, whether horses are degrading trails, same thing, right? There's different user groups. But when I've been up on the trails, whether it's hiking or biking, when I'm hiking, it's usually on the mountain biking trails, and I don't ever remember having a problem with somebody, a conflict. So somebody's coming biking, they're going, I just moved up, excuse me, same thing with the biking. So I've seen that, you know, the trails weren't there, not many people go out into the area and just hike. There's lots of people that do, but the ones I saw, the last few times I've been there, have all been on the mountain bike trails and the roads and the offshoots from the trails. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Louise Blay, 11801 Sinclair Road. I just sort of want to echo what was just said. I think it's important that we remember that the trails that are up there currently are, I definitely say half of them have been built by mountain bikers for mountain bikers. I'm not saying at all that they should be designated just for mountain bikers. But I think that the hikers and the horseback riders should appreciate that those trails are there and maintained as well as they are, because mountain bikers have put that work in. And I can't even tell you how many hours, thousands of hours has gone into that. My only concern, and I have the same concern on Cartwright Mountain with the Test of Humanity trails, is that I just wish the horseback riders had a little bit of consideration sometimes for the amount of work that goes into these trails. Some of them are too sensitive for horses, and for no other reason, the horse shouldn't be on that trail. I'm not saying take them off of it, I'm just saying be considerate. I've seen even on Test of Humanity, I'm not sure why this is so funny, but on the Test of Humanity where Nick Seaton has built tabletops and people have brought their horses over them and completely broken off the sides of them with their horses' hooves and stuff, and I just feel like that's just not showing respect to all the trail users. So that's my say.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Murray Roney, 12018 Gallagher Street. I guess the fundamental problem that I have is with people building trails without a specific authorization to do so from the municipality. The trails, most of the trails that I ride on my horse are deer trails, and in my perspective, the bikers building the trails without proper authorization from the council would be the equivalent of me going onto their property and put a hitching post for my horse. So this is public land, and they do not have the right, in my estimation, to make a determination as to how that land should be changed or what it should be used for without the will of council behind it. So if there's going to be trails made, they shouldn't be just made willy-nilly. They should be done with perspective and the approval of the location and the nature of the trails and how they are built and maintained. And in that way, the public good is respected. And I have no problem with mountain bikers riding. We've had no conflicts, and I've had some very nice conversations with people. Either I'll pull off to the side of the trail or they will, and it's all done very amicably. But I do have a great deal of concern about people feeling that they have the right to modify essentially your land and my land with only considering what is good for them. So it may not be in the public interest to build tabletops and to build trails on specific areas. And it's not mountain bikes that have done it, but there are other stretches of public land where people have taken motorcycles and gone straight up hills and that has resulted in significant erosion. And I think that we need to have input from council and parks as to where and if trails are being built. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yes.
Jane Stead, 11414 Walker Avenue. A couple of comments I'd like to reiterate what this gentleman was just saying as well. I think willy-nilly trails being built everywhere is a concern. I'm really pleased to hear, because when I came here tonight, I was hearing that they were talking about designating this park and kicking horses and dogs off, which had me in a bit of a state. So I'm very pleased to hear that that's not going to be the case, or it sounds like it's not going to be the case. But that's a concern of those of us who are out there with our dogs and with our horses, that we have seen a huge amount of mountain bike trails developing. And the woman that spoke before talking about horseback riders staying off of that, many of us are very respectful of the fact, but one thing I am starting to notice is that trails that have been for many, many, many years horse trails are now being designated as biking trails, and cyclists out there giving us heck for having our horses on trails that have traditionally been horse trails. And I understand that mountain bike trails, a lot of time has gone into those, and they have been built, and as I said, many of us try to respect that. But a lot of the trails that are now all of a sudden little signs showing up that these are mountain bike trails are not mountain bike trails, they are horse trails. So I guess to reiterate what this gentleman just said, that granted we're going to make this a park, I think there needs to be some planning around this. There's a lot of mountain bike trails and offshoots off of those trails that are concerned about erosion and concerns with the stability of the mountainside with the number of mountain bike trails that are happening out there. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Goes. Seeing none at this point, I'd like to ask council for a motion to adjourn the public hearing, please. Councillor Holmes, Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. So there's no further public input, then I guess we will move ahead. So the public hearing is adjourned. Moving on to, where are we at here? Delegations, that's correct.
Yeah.
5.1, delegations. Our auditor, please. We have Stuart Grant, I believe, to be with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'd first like to begin by just expressing Darcy's regrets that he couldn't be here today. Unfortunately, he is homesick, so I'll be standing in his stead. Early distributed were 2 additional pages. Now, these pages are replacement pages for 2 pages that were currently in the package. My apologies, these were changes that were made after the fact, after these were distributed. These are new methodologies that M&P is applying, and we just didn't have a chance to implement those before we had distributed that package. So these are the updates, and they do identify a new materiality on both pages, which I'll speak to throughout my presentation. So during the year, we noted that there's no significant changes with our audit strategy. M&P did convert to a new audit methodology in 2016, so there will be some minor changes to the audit, but will largely be in the background with very little visual changes that you guys will see. I will highlight certain areas of the audit service plan, but I will not review in detail. Please feel free to ask questions as we go through if you guys have something that arises. So one of the first items I'd like to speak to is one of the replaced pages, that is the executive summary. We propose to use a materiality of $870,000 for the planning purposes of our audit. Please note this is based on 3% of revenues. The prior year was based on 2% of revenues. This change that came about this year was a change in M&P's methodology. This brings us in line closer to what the Canadian auditing standards are doing and other municipalities of this size in applying materiality. As part of our audit service plan, we're going to go through and document the overall audit strategy and the general arrangements for the conduct of our December 31st, 2016 audit. This audit service plan will assist Mayor and Council and management in understanding the approach of our 2016 audit, and it will illustrate our commitment to assisting you guys in reaching your engagement objectives and to demonstrate our expertise. We are committed to providing a superior client service by maintaining effective two-way communication throughout the engagement. In terms of key changes and developments within the realm of audit, we've got, in terms of specific changes here at the district, we haven't noted any major changes. One of the things we did note was the departure of Lori, who retired this year. So one of the things we have implemented is working with our team to make sure that this transition is as smooth and seamless as possible. As far as Canadian auditing standards go, there were no major changes to the Canadian auditing standards in 2016, as well as there were no major changes into public sector accounting standards, otherwise referred to as PSAP. As far as the audit goes, we've got 2 main areas of responsibility. Management's responsibility is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the consolidated financial statements, including the notes thereto, in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. The establishment and maintenance of policies, financial reporting system and controls, including those designated to prevent and detect fraud or misstatement. We will provide, or management will provide a written confirmation of representations relating to significant and/or material financial reporting items and disclosures. As far as M&P's responsibilities, our responsibility is to report whether the December 31st, 2016 consolidated financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position, results of operations, and cash flows of the district in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. We will provide reasonable but not absolute assurance of detecting misstatements, fraud, or noncompliance with laws, regulations, having a material effect on the consolidated financial statements as a whole. Detailed information in the audit process and the audit response to identified risks are included in Appendix B and C, respectively. Mayor and Council responsibilities. Mayor and Council is responsible for the review and approval of the consolidated financial statements. They maintain oversight of management to ensure the integrity and accounting of financial reporting systems, and they identify additional areas of concern for MMP to consider when undertaking the audit. Is there anything that you guys are aware of that you would like to make us aware of that we should know while undertaking the 2016 audit?
I don't believe so.
No. Thank you. As far as items that we will be delivering, we will communicate effectively and in a timely manner with Mayor and Council. Our communications will include our audit service plan as discussed here, and at the conclusion of our audit, we will present an audit findings report and provide our management letter. Upon completion of the audit, we will issue an independent auditor's report on your consolidated financial statements prepared in accordance with public sector accounting standards. As far as the timetable for the audit engagement goes, interim procedures will start in December. We will have our team out then. Year-end procedures will be conducted in April, the exact timing of which is to be determined. We will provide draft year-end consolidated financial statements that will be discussed with management in April, and we will report on the audit findings, which we will provide to Mayor and Council in April, all of which dates have yet to be determined. As far as independence, as auditors, we are required to declare our independence. We are not aware of any relationships between our firm and the district during the year that, in our professional judgment, may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence to date. We will also be utilizing the same team as we had in the field last year, so we've got the continuity there. As per our base fee, as per our quote, the base fee for the audit engagement will be $22,400. And is exclusive of GST. For the appendices there, which are the key changes and developments in accounting standards, I'll leave those unless anybody has any specific questions on those key changes.
Thank you.
Perfect. And then at this time, I'd just like to open up the floor to any questions about our audit approach.
Council, any questions of the auditor? Councillor Barkle.
It's a bit confusing, the numbers you've used in your reports, because the original report with our agenda package says that the materiality will be $480,000 based on 4% of estimated revenues, and now we've got one that says it's going to be $870,000 based on 3% of revenues.
Correct. That first calculation was a typo on our behalf.
Okay, just a typo?
That is a typo.
All right.
Correct. As far as materiality goes, we use a base between 2% and 4%. Last year it was between 0.5% and 2%, so the change in methodologies bumped it up, which then this year we're now using 3%, which is right in the middle of the range.
Thank you.
And is based on revenues, sorry.
Councillor Holmes.
So how much actual more auditing is that extra 1%? I mean, and how do you decide where do you find that one?
As far as the 1%, you mean in terms, sorry.
The increase from 2% to 3%.
The increase 2% to 3%. Part of that comes with experience. It comes with the risks and what the users of the financial statements deem to be impacting their opinions. Therefore, this is an updating of our methodology that's bringing this just in line with those materialities calculated by similar municipalities, districts, items of that nature. Does that answer your question? Or is it more so of the testing of the items and things like that within the audit?
Within
Yeah, so the testing, so the way in which it works is within the methodology, there is specific testing. So one of the things we did do was we did change specific risk categories in terms of financial statement line items, for example, revenue, expenses, things like that. So one of the ways in which that changes, it's offset by an increase in materiality. Increasing materiality gives us the ability to bring down our sampling. However, with increased risk identification areas required by Canadian auditing standards, it allows us to offset some of that additional work. The other important...
Understand that? I understood every word you said.
The other important thing to consider, one of the things is everybody looks at it and goes, it's such a large number, it's $870,000. Throughout the engagement, we track any misstatement greater than 2% of that number. Sorry, I can't do the math in my head on that, but any number greater than 2% is tracked. Any number greater than 5% is identified. These items are discussed with management. Management has the option to adjust these items. Otherwise, they're deemed to be left, and it's provided with a summary of unadjusted differences, which is included in the audit findings that's presented to Mayor and Council at year end.
Believe it or not, Council, I understood that. I did. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming this evening and
thank you everyone for your time.
Your yearly report. Appreciate it.
Thank
you
you
very much. Okay, Council, we need a motion to receive the information from the auditor, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Carlson. All in favor? Thank you. Carried and opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, now we move on to item 6. This is an opportunity for the public to speak to issues on our agenda. CAO? Oh, sorry. I thought I was. No. I tend to downgrade my voice, apparently, and move away from the mic. So anyway, we're into the time for public commentary on any agenda items that are highlighted. So is there any comment from anybody?
It's me again, Simone Kutos. Just regarding the bylaws for Conkle Mountain, I'm hoping
just
that...
hang on a minute, please.
Sorry.
It's not highlighted. It's not us speaking. No.
It's
No,
not on?
we've had, that was the public.
Okay.
That was the public hearing,
Okay.
so that one's not open for any further discussion. That
Sounds good.
public
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So what is it for the highlight area that's in discussion right now?
The highlighted areas are just the topics that don't have an opportunity when the subject comes up. So for example, if it's a development variance permit, we'll be inviting the public to speak at the time that it's come up. This particular bylaw, that was what the public hearing was for, so it won't have any more opportunity for speaking, although council will be debating it.
Mr. Roney.
Thank you. I just wanted to express my appreciation to the Chief Administrative Officer and Mr. McIntosh for their identification of something that could be a potential problem in terms of the use of the park. Pardon me if I'm out of line for mentioning this, but they made they took an excellent approach and in rectifying what could have been a problem for a lot of people. So my appreciation to them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that was getting borderline on what we were talking about before, but if somebody's going to say thank you and appreciation, that beats a lot of other comments that might be said at any time in a council meeting. So, anybody else like to speak to any item on the agenda other than the public hearing item? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Mayor's report. Just a shake here. I zipped ahead. Right. Okay, we're into my Mayor's report. Okay, I'll try. This time I believe the breadth and depth of volunteers in a community are the fabric that defines a community character, gives a community added personality, and identifies a community as one that cares. And I guess the reason this came into my mind, because this was really, when I started thinking about this, it was closely after our remembrance ceremony. So that's kind of where my thinking started, because of the individuals that volunteered during various wars. but it also led me on to consider other aspects of volunteerism. And volunteers are heavily invested in everything and every function that makes the community function. The list is huge, but includes churches, service clubs, volunteer firefighters, citizens on patrol, recreational activities such as Festival of Lights, Action Festival, Giant's Head Grind, Ride the Giant longboarding event. Also, I can't forget cultural activities such as the hugely successful Marginal Arts Festival that occurred this past September, and art walks. The boards of various organizations can't manage without responsible volunteer leadership. Indeed, our council committees require considerable commitment, and some, like the recent Cultural Task Force, spent hours and hours of time in meetings and community consultations. I know of a number of residents that volunteer on several organizations. They just find the time. Many community volunteers are seniors who have and make time to allow for that commitment. They have an incredible depth of business and life skills that are so important. But many times it is the younger men and women that contribute to parent advisory committees as their children are going through the school system, as well as those younger parents that help with kids' teams and other activities. This could be we could go on with this topic, but it does take community dedication. And when we think about its volunteers and volunteerism, it makes for a very healthy community that is vibrant and caring. I and council would like to thank the many volunteers that make Summerland a very worthwhile place to live. CAO, your report.
Thank you. Just a couple of notes for council. First of all, I did want to say, although the Light Up, which was an amazing event on Friday night, is a Chamber of Commerce event, and they did a fantastic job organizing it, I personally would really like to thank our staff, our district staff this year for going over and above in making sure that the lights and downtown were better than ever. And it's a busy time. Luckily this year they didn't have any snow clearing to have to deal with in the time building up to it. But it really took Chris and his crews and other departments a lot to get it going and to make it as great, that part of it as great as it was. So I wanted to thank them specifically. Tomorrow night there is that open house information session for the utility rates for the water, sewer, and electrical. It's here and it's at 7 o'clock tomorrow. And the purpose of it is to look, last year we discussed a rate increase of 5% for water and sewer and 4% for electrical. It is so beneficial if we get the rates approved for January 1st, because if you don't, then you end up paying a large increase to catch up later in the year. For example, our residents are already paying a rate that's higher than the 5% will be this year because they only paid 12 months worth in 6 months last year. So we're hoping that we'll have some good turnout and discussion for that tomorrow night. And just, we talked last week about the Banks Crescent, the seniors development, and scheduling some open houses and information sessions for those. And we have 3 of them planned in January. We've got the open house planned on January 16th at the banquet room. That'll be a typical open house style where we'll have information, the opportunity to talk to staff and one-on-one and look at the proposals and the correspondence received. On Thursday, January 19th, we'll have a question and answer session at the center stage. So we'll have microphones and just try to answer questions as they come from any residents there. And then we'll have a public hearing for the formal input on January 26th. The developers, I believe, have a schedule. They have their own information session scheduled on December 6th coming up next week. So those will all go on the Facebook page and the website and in the newsletter that'll come out next week. But I wanted to just make sure council were aware of that. And
one other thing, all the information concerning that is showing up on the website.
That's right. On the website, if you haven't been there yet, there is a link to a dedicated website where all the information about the development application, the application itself, anything that's happened so far, all the correspondence that we've received for and against it, and general comments, it's all in that one area. The drawings are there, so it's up and live on the website now. And then on an unfortunate note for any of you that haven't heard yet, we did get our notification from the Canada 150 that our grant application for the skate park funding was not approved. So that was disappointing. We really thought that was a strong application. And that's my report for today.
Thank you very much. And we have no unfinished business, I understand.
That's correct.
Okay, just a minute. I just touched my screen and lost everything. Just a second here. It's back. Okay, we're on to 10.1. That's pretty quick for a challenged person when it comes to computers, let me tell you. We're to 10.1, informational items. Council, do you have anything from any of the correspondence you'd like to bring forward? Hearing none, could we have a motion to receive, please? Councillor Boot, seconder. Councillor Carlson, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Moving on to 10.2, committee commission minutes. We have the minutes from the Heritage Advisory Committee. Any comments there by council? Councillor Carlson.
Just a question regarding, once again, there's a couple of large items in here, and I know that last meeting there was a motion to have staff review some of the proposed motions from this commission. Will these items get added to that list if that already happened? Or would we have to do another motion in a couple of months once there's more items?
When it starts functioning as it should be, each time there's motions, they'll come separately to council with a decision to deal with it now or not, to accept it as a resolution and to move forward on it. Because they're coming quite quickly now and there's a backlog, there is a chance they'll come as a group. They won't automatically go on. They need to come forward to council to determine if there's any that you want worked on right away. We were just talking about that earlier today, and we're going to just work on making sure that we're getting them in front of council.
Okay, thank you. I will move that the minutes be received for information.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Barkle, thank you. All in favor? None opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Development Services reports. Mr. McIntosh, Development Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first application up tonight is a development variance permit for the property at 5701 Solly Road. This property is located on Solly Road near the intersection with Fisher Close. The subject lot is accessed by a shared driveway. There are 3 lots that were created there through subdivision recently, and there is a single access easement and a shared driveway between the 3 lots. The subject property shown in red on the screen is the property in question. You can see that hopefully you can see there, the green line is the edge of the access easement, and you can see the edge of the pavement is somewhat inside that. The zoning bylaw has a requirement for a garage door to be set back at least 6 meters from the edge of an access easement. And in this particular case, the house has the garage door set back over 6 meters to the pavement, but not to the edge of the access easement. So in this particular case, the variance request is to reduce that setback from the garage door to the access easement to 4 meters because there's 2 meters of separation between the edge of the pavement and the edge of the access easement. As the intent of the bylaw is being respected in this particular case, staff are recommending support of the variance. And the owners are in the gallery if you wish to hear from them.
The owners like to comment or come forward? Okay. Councillor, questions of staff? Councillor Peak? Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. Have we received any correspondence since the report was written on this application?
We have not received any correspondence on this one.
Thank you very much.
You need to ask if there's anybody that wishes to speak.
Is there anybody else from the public that wishes to speak other than the proponent who's not here? Okay. Thank you. Council, any other questions of staff on this Councillor Barkwell.
Obviously, there's only 2 lots that would be affected by this. Though they haven't formally written any correspondence concerning the application, do you have any knowledge of what the 2 people up the road, up the easement, how they feel about this application?
I do not. The concern from staff is that the actual travelway won't be blocked so that the other 2 properties will have adequate access. In this particular case, it appears that even if a car was parked in front of the garage door, it still would not impede the travelway, but I haven't heard specifically from either owner.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
I just have a question regarding the actual wording of the motion. Most of the motions that we see will say a setback from, the next one, for example, 5 to 0. This one that we're looking at, it simply said a setback less than 6 meters. Is that something that needs to be addressed, or is it fine like that?
It could be either reduced to 4 meters. Generally speaking, the resolution does suggest that the variance permit application is what's being approved, and that includes the drawings that they submit.
Okay.
So those drawings will be attached to the variance permit if it gets issued. Would have been cleaner to say from 6 to 4,
Yes.
but the intent is the same.
Okay, anybody else?
Should we modify it?
Okay, would someone like to bring the motion forward, please?
Should we modify it?
It's okay. Councillor Carlson.
I will move that the development variance permit application for Lot 1 DL 455 ODYD Plan EPP 46247 at 5701 Solly Road to vary the zoning bylaw section 6.5.1 to allow garage to be set back from 4 meters or from 6 meters to 4 meters from a driveway easement be approved.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Peak. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Okay, all in favor? Motion carries, none opposed. Thank you. Moving on to 11.2, Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Second application up tonight is another development variance permit at 9400 Cedar Avenue. This is in the James Lake Industrial Park in the District of Summerland. Property is located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Cedar Avenue and Lindsay Street. And the property currently houses an industrial building as well as numerous portable storage structures. There's a bit of history on this property. Development variance permit was received in 2002 to reduce the Lindsay Street setback and the Cedar Avenue setback from 7 and 5 meters respectively to 0. And this was to accommodate storage buildings. That request was denied. A second DVP application was received in 2004 to reduce the west setback, that's the side interior, and the Cedar Avenue setback from 5 meters to 0. That request was also denied. A third application was received in 2009 to reduce the Cedar Avenue setback and the west setback from 5 meters to 0. In that particular case, the request to reduce the side exterior setback, which is Cedar Avenue, was granted, but the side interior setback request was denied. In that particular case, there were no building plans submitted with the application. So we have another development variance permit application on the docket here tonight to reduce the west setback, which is the side interior, from 5 meters to 0 meters. So staff understand in speaking with the owners that the property, that they wish to sell the storage business. And in order to increase the property value, they're requesting that the setback be varied to 0 to allow more intensive use of the site. Our understanding is there's no intention to construct a new building on the site at this time. Development variance permit typically are made to allow council to authorize construction that does not conform to the regulations. And there is a section in the Local Government Act, Section 504, that notes that if a holder of a land use permit does not substantially start any construction with respect to which the permit was issued, within 2 years after the date it was issued, the permit lapses. And the intent of this provision is to prohibit a landowner from receiving a development variance, delaying or deciding not to proceed with the project, commencing at a later date when there may be a different council sitting, and there may be different property owners adjacent that have not had an opportunity to comment on the variance. So generally speaking, it's not recommended to proactively issue variances if construction is not imminent. because the permit may lapse in 2 years and a future property owner may think they have a right to construct something which in fact has expired. In the M2 heavy industrial zone, which this property is within, it does allow a 0 setback at the rear of the property, but requires a 5-meter setback on either side and a 7-meter front setback. These siting regulations apply to all the lots in the James Lake Industrial Park. And in this case, the lot is pretty much flat due to extensive retaining wall construction. The owners have received a variance to reduce the side exterior setback along Cedar Avenue from 5 meters to 0. As you can see, there's some structures placed there. And there are 4 storage buildings located at the front property line which don't meet the front setback regulations, and there has been no variance issued for that. In this particular case, it appears that there is no particular hardship or site constraint other than the wish to use the lot more intensively. And the setback provisions in the zoning bylaw are basically to allow fire department access in an area that typically has higher hazard due to the industrial nature. So this application was circulated, and the fire department has noted that they are not supportive of this request and recommend that the 5-meter setback along the west side of the property be maintained in order to provide access for firefighting activities and limit the risk of fire potential spread to neighboring properties. And this was their position in 2009 when the application was in front of council before. So in this particular situation, again, staff are suggesting that if it is council wishes to vary setbacks to 0, in this particular case, it may be, if this isn't a specific, site-specific issue, it may be more reasonable to review the setbacks in the industrial park and adjust them so that all properties have the benefit of the same regulation. So in this particular case, staff are not recommending issuance of the variance to 0.
Thank you. Council, questions of our planner, please. Oh,
yes. Owners are in the gallery.
Proponent gets to speak, sorry.
If they'd like to speak.
If you'd like to speak, please, go ahead. I forgot we were dealing with DVP.
My name is Lorraine Taylor. My husband and myself own A&A Mini Storage and Wine Cellar. And yes, we do want to sell it, and yes, we do want to maximize it. And the whole creation here started when the municipality changed our frontage from Cedar to Lindsay and did not notify us. And so we have been trying to work around the triple in taxes and the wasted front yard and trying to get enough revenue to make the business viable. We've also made it attractive. We've improved the corner. We've improved the James Lake industrial area because we're going after quality rather than quantity. We are prepared in the spring, if it hasn't sold, to build 10 units. The remaining property there, because there's already a building on that property, the remaining property is about 80 feet by about 20 feet. And the option of putting 10 more single-story buildings on it would make a difference to A&A Mini Storage, to the options available to a prospective buyer, and to ourselves and to the municipality. We are going for quality, not quantity. Sandy Berry is my construction.
Hi, excuse me, I've known Cy and Ryan for 25 years, and it's clear in what Mrs. Taylor says is that they do intend to use this side yard by the springtime, and I think Mr. McIntosh said that there's no intention to go ahead and use it. There is that intention. There's no doubt that they're trying to sell their business. This is a senior couple that's trying to move on and retire, and that's something that we all aspire to as we age. But the thing is, the building on the property immediately to the north of this property has a 0 clearance on the same elevation. And from what I understand in talking to Mrs. Taylor, when they bought the property in the first place, it had a 0 clearance on the back, on the west side. There seems, I was asked by Mrs. Taylor to try and make some sense of this, and I talked to her on Saturday, and I haven't had a chance to really get to the bottom of it. There seems to be some historical context here that I'm not sure
very clear of, and I'm not sure that they're clear of the whole process and what that entails. I guess what the Taylors are asking for is that they would like to have this zero clearance, and their intention is to use it in this next year. That is their intention. And the other thing is that if the council would decides in their wisdom not to do this at this time, we would like to ask that we'd have a continuance of this resolution so we could get a little clearer historical picture of what's going on here, because it seems to be that the owners of this property have fallen between the cracks, in my opinion. I wish I'd had more time to prepare for it, but I didn't find out about it until Saturday, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to the issue? None? Okay, council, is there questions of staff?
Can I make a
Yeah,
statement?
go
too?
ahead, sorry.
Just to follow up on Mr. McIntosh's presentation, it is very true what he said. It's very rare that you see a development variance permit that's issued without drawings. In fact, I think that was the answer that Mr. McIntosh gave Councillor Carlson in the very first one. We were talking about being reduced from 6 to 4, and his answer was generally the drawings go with the variance permit, because typically when you have a variance permit, you have the drawings of the development, which is why it's been brought forward as a denial at this point in time, not necessarily because the concept isn't doable and wouldn't necessarily be approved if you saw it, just that it is unusual without the development to go forward that you would be considering it. So it's not impossible by legislation to do it, but it is very unusual.
That is without drawings.
Without the plan of the development, because best practices would say that if you're varying because you believe that the setback should be zero, then you should be looking at your whole zone and determining whether or not you should be amending your zoning bylaw.
I see. Councillor Peak?
Yes, I'm wondering, in light of the discussion from the proponent, whether there's an opportunity to defer this particular file and allow for some clarity and discussion in the background for it possibly to come forward again.
The matter could, the matter could be tabled to find out if they were wanting to amend their application. It's their application, and they could be asked whether or not they want to amend their application, and then it could come forward to council for consideration if they did.
Is that with plans, you're saying?
If they, yeah,
Drawings?
if we could have that discussion on whether they have any intent to provide their proposed drawings and the application, which would go with the development variance permit. Then it would come back to council at the next meeting, either in the same format as it is now, because they want that to be considered, or with drawings and a proposed design.
Okay, Councillor Traynor, then Councillor Boot.
This is one of the first variance permit or applications that I've seen where the fire department hasn't been on board. So is there any liability in that if say we did approve it and there was a fire, given that they gave us a warning that they didn't approve it?
There wouldn't be any liability. The reason it wouldn't be approved is because there's no plans that they can look at. There's no, so if the variance has been approved and then they can't look to see what impacts there would be, it's not to say they wouldn't approve it necessarily if they had the plans. It's just that they don't have plans to review. Did you have anything to add to that?
Thanks.
Other than the fire department, as a matter of course, doesn't support zero setback in the industrial park, period, because if you have two buildings at zero or close to it, it impedes their ability to get between buildings and between properties. So it may impact them somewhat to have building plans, but I suspect, generally speaking, if you have zero on one side or maybe zero on two, as in this particular case, but zero on an interior where you could impede the property next door, it's unlikely, based on my discussions with them, that they would support that.
Councillor Boot first, and then Councillor Barkwell.
I have a couple of questions, Mr.
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
through to the Director of Development Services. Let's see. The owners say, I'm reading from the report. The owners have received a variance to reduce this side exterior setback along Cedar Avenue from 5 to 0. Is that was that granted because those are portable units?
I believe the variance at that time limited them to portable units, but
Okay.
the main reason I believe that variance was issued is because there's a large retaining wall starting just north of the entrance and then extending down the property there. So because that retaining wall was there, and that was an issue, because there was a significant structure there already.
So was that retaining wall, did that have a development variance permit?
At the time, retaining walls did not need development variance permits.
Okay. So if I might.
Go ahead.
The four, could you point out on the image in front of us, the 4 storage buildings at the front property line which do not meet the current setback regulations and are not permitted? Could you point those out?
Yeah, that's these 4 right here. This is the front property line, requires a 7-meter setback. The variance request that was approved in 2009, I think, is for this setback here. And the 0 was permitted already in the rear, which is this line here. So these ones don't have a variance permit to be 0 in the front yard.
Thank you. And are those buildings portable as well?
I believe they are, yes.
Okay. So further to Councillor Trainor's question, is one of the reasons, and I'll just ask the question, is one of the reasons that the fire department has concerns about this is the potential, because it's an industrial area, for fire to go from one property to the next if there's no setback on 2 adjoining properties?
Yes, that is a concern, and in this particular case, well, in any particular case, the BC Building Code will require that if you do put a building close to a property line or at 0, the wall has to have a fire rating. That's why in downtown, when you see there's 0 setback, the walls are constructed of concrete.
Right.
So even if the 0 setback was permitted in here, as per the drawings that were submitted before, it showed a structure in there, it would have to have a fire-rated wall. If these storage containers that are wood frame, they could not be placed at the 0 lot line. They would have to be steel containers or some other sort of fire-rated structure.
Just to emphasize, so whether the fire department supports an application and whether or not it can meet building code are 2 different things, and it sometimes can meet building code if, for example, this had drawings with it and it met building code.
Right.
The fire chief may still suggest that it would be his recommendation not to approve it, but we would make that, of course, we can't here because there's no
We don't
drawings,
have
but
drawings.
that, we'd make that assertion.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Planner.
Any other, Councillor Barkle?
I was trying to skim through the report. Can you confirm this change from the front, the Cedar Avenue being changed from the front to the Lindsay Avenue being changed to the front?
Yeah, I think what happened, and I'm guessing here, is that previously, I believe that the front was cedar, so that would be a 7-meter setback on this side. This would have been 0 because it's the rear. This would have had a 5-meter setback because it's the side interior, and this would have had a 5-meter because it's the side exterior. In 1999, I believe, is when the change was made, and the zoning bylaw of the day said that the narrowest frontage was the front. So that means the front would change from Cedar now to Lindsay because this is the narrowest frontage. That would mean that this now is rear, so it would get 0, which you can see they've acted upon. This becomes the side interior, so it needs a 5-meter setback. And this becomes side exterior, so it needs a 5-meter setback.
So fire considerations were any part of the picture for changing what's the front of the building, which is the back side of the building, and if that change hadn't been made, they would have been able to build to the to the west boundary without any concerns other than building code, firewall considerations?
They could have, but they wouldn't have been able to go zero along
Yeah,
this line
yeah.
without a variance. That would have been 5-meter requirement in that location. So the bylaw, I suspect the bylaw changed because of zoning policy, and it wasn't a fire regulated issue. And we've since changed the zoning bylaw again now, so that when you're on a corner like this, you can pick which setback you want to be front and which you want to be side exterior. We don't prescribe it. But once you've picked and acted on it, then that's the way it stays.
It seems to me it has raised, and you've touched upon this subject, what we should do sort of more globally with, if I can use the word globally for our industrial area. I've seen the firewalls in action, and they seem to be pretty effective, although I wouldn't want to impose my judgment over the fire chiefs, but we know in larger communities where land is a big issue, they allow zero setbacks, and they, put in regulations which are just as good as the width. I mean, it seems to me when you've got your 5-meter setback and it's plugged with campers parked there or whatever, it's not going to do you much good. I think it's a futile gesture in some cases. So it's another one of those things that maybe we can go back to the drawing board for and have an overall consideration as well. As far as this one goes, geez, maybe some more discussion.
I don't know, are you suggesting that in the industrial area then we erect firewalls between each of the properties that may be 0-0 because they're backing on each other?
Well, we wouldn't, I'm
just
suggesting
raising that as a...
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we might
critique.
consider changing the zoning in generally.
Yeah. Well, maybe requiring some overall revisit of the zoning of the industrial area. Any other questions of the planner, please?
Certainly an option if council did want us to have more conversation would be to table the item till next council meeting and allow us to have more discussion with the applicants.
Would they have the opportunity to supply drawings then, is that what you're saying?
If they wanted to amend their application or not.
Okay. So what's council's wish here? Need a motion. Councillor Peak?
I would make a motion to table this particular application to come forward at our next council meeting and allow for an opportunity for the proponent to have some discussions and make amendments if need be. And does it have to be at the next council meeting? Does it have to name a date?
No.
So just to come forward at a future council meeting.
Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Barkle? Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, first I'd like to apologize to the Taylors for not taking up on their invitation to go to visit the site. We received your letter, I know it was dated on Tuesday, but we didn't receive it until the end of the day on Friday. So I'm not sure why that delay happened, but so apologize, didn't get a chance to get out there. I think the principle of not issuing variances without seeing any plans makes a lot of sense. And I would certainly support the motion that's on the table if what's coming back to us is a variance application with some plans that we can look at so we know what we're varying. I don't know if that's what we're talking about or not. And if it is, then I can support the motion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder on that?
Yeah, we already have.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it fair to ask Councillor Peak a question? So when you made that resolution, or that motion, that was your intent, was to have more information so that we can make an informed decision, including
Yes,
what
it allows
Councillor Holmes...
the applicant to come forward with amendments, which could include drawings or whatever the justification for the variance might be.
So a more complete application then?
I don't know that the motion has to say that, but that would be the intent.
Well, I'm just asking you, yes. That was your intention with the motion? Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed. Motion carries. So the issue is tabled or deferred to future council meeting. Thank you, council. Moving on to 11.3. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the third application, another development variance permit for the property at 11801 Sinclair Road. This is a bare land strata development at the south end of Sinclair Road. And the property owner is constructing a single-family house on the property. They've run into the same issue that the first variance ran into, where there is a strata road. They're constrained by a riparian setback at the south end of the property. That's the green line you can see on the screen there. And they're trying to fit their house between the strata road and the riparian setback. And they need a 6-meter setback between the access easement and the garage. And again, in this particular case, you can see here the access easement is wider than the pavement. So they're constrained by this and are asking to reduce the setback by 1 meter. So the setback from the strata road would go from 6 meters to 5 meters, still allowing sufficient room in front of the garage door to put a car. And also there is no units beyond that. The road stops at the property line, so there is no potential for any further blockage of neighbors to the east. So in this particular case, staff are recommending support of the application.
Thank you. Is the proponent in the...
Yes, they are.
Okay, would they like to speak to this, please?
He was. Oh, there he is.
Ah.
Mr. Mayor.
To the lectern, please.
Questions, sure. Hi, I'm George Giannotti. I'm the designer and also the agent for the owner on this application. I'm here basically to answer any questions that the council may have on the variance.
Any members of the public?
Okay, well, are there any members of the public that would like to come forward as well? No? So where do we sit with questions of the proponent?
Well, the council can always ask questions if they want. They start to debate.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll wait till a few minutes until we get into, we have to bring a motion forward first, no?
Well, they can ask questions, it's typical, they can.
Right now?
ask- Yes, they can.
Before we bring a motion.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. So, council, yes, you can ask questions.
I have a
Councillor
question for the
Traynor.
planner.
Right.
Should I wait or?
No, this is.
No,
Yes, this is appropriate, yeah.
The house to the left, would that house have required a variance as well, the same one that this one is applying for?
If they didn't meet the 6-meter setback, they would, but I believe there's a roof overhang there, and I would suspect that they do meet the bylaw, but I haven't reviewed those plans, so I'm not certain.
Okay, it looked almost the same, so I just wasn't sure.
It does look almost the same, but the way the photograph is taken, it could be there's a roof overhang and the wall is back a couple of feet from there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, any members of the public like to speak? Hearing none.
Can
Okay,
I
would someone, oh.
Can I speak on that
Sure, go
question?
ahead. Yep.
So I have also designed the house to the left, and that house came in before the bylaw was changed. The bylaw's just been in effect for about 6 months. That house was built about 1.5 years ago. So that's the reason, and it doesn't meet the bylaw, nor does the other two houses, or do the other two houses in that same road. So this is the first one of the houses that got caught into the bylaw change, and the other 2 vacant lots as well will have to go through that same process.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson, did you have?
No, but I'll move the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
That council pass the following resolution, that the DVP application for lot SL6 DL 474 ODYD Plan KAS 3898 at 11801 Sinclair Road to reduce the required setback for a garage door from 6 meters to 5 meters be approved.
A seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries, none opposed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Giannotti. Moving ahead to 12.1. CAO?
Council, this is in regards to the Summerland Rodeo grounds. We talked about this some time ago. The piece of property that was operating as a trail ride outfit. Council directed us to put it out for request for proposals. We did receive 2 to begin with, but 1 withdrew from the competition. So we had 1 submission, which was the Garnet Valley Gang. We support the application at this time. However, we need direction from council on whether or not you consider that it meets the zoning, because the zoning on there for public use, of course, it is the rodeo ground, so it's just a small piece of a larger piece of property. So we're recommending that it is approved and move forward. But as you can see in the report, we're looking for some council direction on that.
Councillor Carlson.
Question on what the term of something like this would be. I see that it used to be a 10+ years, but what would the Garnet Valley Gang require it for, or what would this be for? And would it be something that, if something needed to change, could we change it next year or in 3 years from now when it comes to the bylaw?
So we typically would do 5-year license to occupy. Is that what you've been thinking to date?
Yeah, that's what the discussions have been.
5 years.
Councillor Peak.
Yes, it seems reasonable to me to use the Garnet Valley Gang's stabling opportunity as to be public use, and I think that would follow through in creating a lease. 5-year lease would seem to me reasonable, and you always have an outage clause in it at any rate for either side.
Anybody else?
They did speak a great deal on how they want to improve the buildings and put some effort into improving the area and rehabilitate some of the grounds there, so it could be quite exciting.
Councillor Barkle.
Further to the public use issue, because I know part of the issue on this proposal was, the interpretation. Anybody can become a member of the Garnet Valley Gang, so it is a public organization, right? It's not a closed.
It's the activity that doesn't fit the specific in the zoning bylaw. If that was the primary use, it would be a stretch to fit the activity into the uses identified. But with it being an accessory use to the greater grounds, it can be fit.
Councillor Holmes.
I think, when I think back and when on the Cultural Plan Task Force and if they had a go at this in terms of the definition, they'd be there for hours. But when we had discussion of what is culture, and whether it was just the narrow sense of arts and everything, or was it the bigger culture of the community? And we decided it's the culture of the community. And if you think the KVR in the big picture of the KVR is such an important piece of this community. And it is the community, and the Garnet Valley Gang is part of that greater use, and it's such a, it's all for the public, it's all for us, right, and visitors and everything. So I look at it in the big view, and it's all part of the same package.
May I speak to that? The only difference there is that if it was the land alone, that can be challenged in court, and the court isn't as widespread as the cultural committee, and they have had issues in zoning with land use in the past. This won't be a problem with it being an accessory use, but on primary uses, we would have to do that bylaw amendment. We just have to.
Anybody else? Councillor Barkle.
I'll move the motion that the license to occupy the stable area of the Summerland Rodeo Grounds be awarded to the Garnet Valley Gang, and further that staff be directed to negotiate and finalize the agreement with the representatives from the Garnet Valley Gang.
Seconded, Councillor Carlson. Thank you. Okay, the only question I have is coming to any kind of an arrangement with a bunch of outlaws, but apart from that.
Yeah, I love that one line here.
Yeah.
Councillor Carlson.
Just to somewhat echo what Councillor Holmes just said, I think that when you read through and there's an idea of, they're going to count their money and they're going to have Wild West photos, and it's all very thematic and it fits really well with perhaps even a larger vision of what might end up going on out there in that neighborhood of, if we can call it a neighborhood of town, with the KVR and with the rodeo grounds and all of that. Combining, I think that there's a huge opportunity there, so I hope that it will build.
Thank you.
And I would like to, echo what you said, Mr. Mayor. This probably has to be the best line of any staff report that I've ever read. Or it says buildings would be used for counting their money after the train robbery.
Yeah, I mean, I rest my
Anybody who doesn't know this committee and just read that.
I rest my
What?
case.
You guys do it.
The Wild West is being tamed. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. The motion carries. None opposed. Thank you very much. No new business, corporate officer? Okay. This is when I keep touching that thing. Okay, where are we here? Okay, 14.1. The bylaw to consider, Conkle Mountain, CEO.
Development Services.
Okay. Mr. McIntosh?
Yes, this is the bylaw to be considered after the public hearing with respect to the Conkle Mountain zoning and OCP amendments, again, from open and ag currently to park, and rezoning from forestry grazing in A1 to PR1. And I have, maybe I'll just put the map up there.
Are you going to do a little bit more introduction? One of the things that the Director of Development Services and I talked about today, we've been making note, of course, of all the issues that came up in the public hearing. And in some of the comments that came up are more applicable to the process that need to be happening as far as the parks and trail master planning and how we're going to be handling our trails and our, at this point in time, as we spoke last week, we did make an attempt to say that with that resolution that council passed, to say nothing, right now, nothing's changing. This is dedication so that what the plaque says it is what it actually is, but there's no intention whatsoever to make any changes to the use. Whether or not there's any conflicts or that is not part of this particular dedication. And was there anything else?
I just wanted to be clear again, this is kind of how we got here, is what we're looking at right now is designation of the OCP. I know you meant that,
Sorry,
but
I
you
meant
said
that.
dedication. So the intent here is to designate it as park, zone it as park. Council's already made the resolution to not enforce the park bylaw with respect to animal and bicycle use. That will be re-looked at again as part of the Parks and Rec Master Plan, because the Parks Regulation bylaw is clearly out of date. That will be redrafted once the Parks and Rec Master Plan is complete, and there may be different uses that go in different parks all through the municipality. We don't know that yet. That's part of the planning exercise. And we are intending to bring a dedication bylaw as well to council at the December 12th meeting. So right now, it's just designating it from open land and agriculture to park, and rezoning from FG and A1 to PR1.
One of the questions that was raised was whether it can be set in stone that you wouldn't make a change and disallow horse riding or bicycle riding or walking. And that council passed a resolution. There's nothing that you can do to set it in stone, because if you pass it by bylaw or you pass it by resolution, if this council or another council wanted to make a change today or another time, it would, they could make that change. So by putting it park, it's acknowledged that the intent is park uses. It's our parks bylaw that's outdated right now and doesn't look at what reality park is.
But essentially, though, if it's designated park now, to make any change to that has to go to referendum or AAP down the road, correct?
That is the difference between designation and dedication, and that's
Okay.
where we're getting into trouble.
Okay.
Designation is a council bylaw,
Okay.
And a future council can change it from park to whatever else they want. They can rezone it to whatever else they want through the public process. In this case, we're proposing to designate it and zone it so that it will be park for all intents and purposes. We are intending to go one step beyond that, as recommended by the Centennial Committee, and actually dedicate it as park, which is what the monument says. That dedication is what requires assent of the electorate to undo. And part of the dedication bylaw can speak to what uses, what purposes the park is being dedicated for. And that is one step closer to casting it in stone, but it's still not foolproof, but it's as close as you're going to get in municipal government.
But that step is not happening tonight.
No,
Right.
that is not happening tonight. We're intending to bring that bylaw on the 12th of December.
Councillor Carlson.
I note that a question was also raised with regards to perhaps the RDOS and the Crown land as well. Is there a step in this process, either before designation or before dedication, where a larger conversation needs to happen? Or does the municipality have the ability to dedicate without necessarily inquiring with others that might be impacted by that land use change?
Yeah, the municipality owns this property, and it has every right to designate it and zone it, and to dedicate it. It could designate and zone regardless of ownership. Properties get designated and zoned all the time that are privately owned. In this particular case, we do own it, so it can be dedicated without any further conversation, although we can have that if we want. I think part of the, and I should have mentioned, part of the, one of the interested speakers spoke to the grazing component. And there was a lease, when I did go through the minutes of the Centennial Committee, there was a lease on this property to a local rancher to graze it. And that lease expired in 2006 when this park was dedicated, although we didn't get that far. And so, and it's never been renewed, and it hasn't been acted on since. I think that the fellow was speaking more to the Crown land to the south here. This is owned by the province, and it could very well have leases for grazing. I'm not sure, we haven't investigated that. But our particular piece does not have any grazing leases on it at the moment, and hasn't had since 2006.
So for clarity, what we're looking at doing the rezoning on right now is not including the provincial properties.
That's correct. Only the municipal property shown in red on the screen.
So the individual who raised the concern about grazing essentially had to be referring to Crown land.
I believe so.
Yeah, I see. Okay, thank you. Councillor Holmes?
Just
and Councillor Peak?
Just on that same note, so we've had no communication with the provincial government in respect to their how they envision that the Crown portion of that land becoming. Do they view it as grazing? Do they? I mean, how it's within the municipal boundaries, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So we can designate it.
But we're not, in this exercise, we're not contemplating doing that, but we
certainly could. We haven't had any discussions with them in that regard. Again, this sort of started as a housekeeping measure to try and put in place what a previous council and community had asked for, and we just simply didn't get it done. So we haven't done a lot of consultation with provincial agencies, although we certainly could.
Councillor Barton.
I think we've opened a can of worms, an important can of worms, with just a simple catching up process here. Yeah, that's a question I had too. What control do we have about grazing? It's probably something that seems to me, on the face of it, would be unlikely that we would want to have, because cows don't see any property lines. They would wander right through the park area. And then, of course, at the other end, there is the ecological reserve, which might be fenced, although how solid that fence is. It's a couple of kilometers, is it, from the ecological reserve to our future park?
Yes, the ecological reserve is this property down here.
Okay.
And the park we're talking about is up here. And there are in the neighborhood of 2 kilometers between.
2 kilometers separation. So, yeah, all right. And what control do we have over additional trails and such being built in the Crown Land area. I don't know if the general audience is aware, but if they were to go to our Committee of a Whole report, there's a presentation from the South Okanagan Trail Alliance, which has a GPS track of all the trails, and a good half of them are not even in the park. And that's something that I know it's not, it's indirectly related to what we're dealing with now, but it's something, can you tell us how we're going to be able to control that area?
Well, if the district wants to control that area, we have the power of zoning, same as any use anywhere in the municipality. So if it was zoned forestry grazing, for instance, which allows forestry and allows grazing, does not allow outdoor recreation, we could, if we wanted to, advise the property owners that the use that they're allowing on their property is not permitted in the zoning bylaw and go down the bylaw enforcement road. I don't see us doing that in the foreseeable future, but it's the same as any other zone and any other property in the district, and if a use is going on there that we deem to be a problem that doesn't meet the zoning, we can have it take steps to have it stopped.
But this is Crown Land, right? So
It's Crown Land, but it's still zoned and it's still within the municipal boundary.
CAO, did you have a
No,
comment?
that's
Okay. Councillor Peak.
If I might bring it back to this particular
Yep.
motion that we're looking at. I did ask the question, but I'll ask it again. Is there any particular benefit or hindrance to leaving this and not designating it and leave it for discussion when we do our Parks Master Plan?
Mr. McIntosh?
There's no particular benefit one way or the other. The reason this came up is that clearly this property was intended to be park. It's being used as park. Everybody thinks it's a park, so we were trying to match our OCP and designation and zoning with that general understanding. But it's been operating that way for 10 years. It's not going to hurt if we let it continue to operate that way for another 10 years, I suspect. We own it. It's the districts. They can control it. It's just, it allows grazing and logging on the big piece, and it allows agriculture where the Trans-Canada Trail is. But it is our property, and we can control the use.
I think there was some misunderstanding, certainly some individuals that I talked to directly, that felt there was more to what was happening than formalizing the dedication. So it sort of grew into something bigger than it was. There is the monument up there that says it has been done, and I think we'd have to, if council didn't do it, you may want to think about that monument that's there that's not true. So
I appreciate the answer. The fact is, the community has had the previous discussion and does have an intent to have this designated as park. I just wanted to bring forward the opportunity, whether there was a benefit or not in the other way of doing it.
I think the signage, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. McIntosh, actually uses the word dedicated, doesn't it?
It does, and I happen to have an image.
So,
it says.
Which is the next step.
Which in essence, as we proceed, if we do the designation, now that I've cleared my own head up, if we go through this part of the process and ensure present uses are in place and not to be changed, then when we go through, if we go through this stage, and then when we do the Parks and Master Plan properly, then we can do the actual dedication as part and enshrine those trails and use patterns that are there as much as that allows us to. Is that correct?
I'm not so sure that you would, that the two, I think they're still, the dedication and the Trails Master Plan are still two separate items. The dedication would be the next step following this. The Parks and Master Plan is more about the actual uses and making sure that we're identifying not trying to say every park is exactly the same, which is kind of what our Parks bylaw does now.
They would have to,
our intent, unless we hear otherwise, is to bring forward the dedication bylaw at the next meeting.
I see. Okay, thank you. Councillor Booth.
I have a couple of questions, and I'm not sure who can answer them. We heard from a couple of people tonight that there are trails up there that are designated bike trails. What does that mean? How do we know that trails have been designated as bike trails?
They haven't been designated as bike trails by the District of Summerland. So they may have just been signed by users who are attempting to keep bikes on bike portions and other users on other portions. There has been some discussion of maybe it would be appropriate to have a Friends of Conkle Mountain group that would be a shared group of mountain bikers and hikers and equestrians, and they could get together and come up with a plan. As we heard this morning, there are some trails that should probably be decommissioned and others that should be maintained, but there certainly is the opportunity to have all users use that park into the future. That's a big area, and it's been used that way for 10 years, and I don't see that changing.
And I think that is exactly.
That would be ideal.
Right.
Right. May I ask one
Yeah,
other
go ahead.
question?
Yep.
Excuse me, someone else can ask a question, because I can't find it here in my
You've
notes.
lost your train of thought, Councillor?
Yes, I lost my, I've lost my train of thought.
Okay, Aaron.
I'll fill
Thank
in
you.
for you then. Just to follow up on the comment over here, so designation and then the conversation to be had about either Friends of Conkle or working with the Trail Alliance to make sure that things are taken care of. Is that a conversation that happens during the master plan conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Designation and dedication separate,
Yeah.
because no intent to change anything. Trails master plan, how we're going to be better stewards of parks overall, Trails master plan.
Oh, I was going to put the motion on, but if you have more
Go ahead.
questions.
I just have a quick question with regards to the bylaws here as how they're written. Do we have something that says in here that we're not going to enforce those things, like the uses for now?
That was the resolution that council passed last
Okay.
council meeting. So that resolution has already been passed.
Okay, perfect. So that people can find that and
Yes.
rest assured that that's there for now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Councillor Carlson?
I will move the motions that are on the table. Can I do all four of them at once? Yes.
Yes.
Do you want me to read it out?
No, as
It might
presented.
take a while.
As
I will move the motions 1, 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Further discussion, please? Anybody? Councillor Trainer.
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight. I really appreciate that you all came and shared your thoughts, and you sent us letters, and we do read them all, and we read things on Facebook too, so thank you. To me, that signals that you all really care about the area and that it's really important to you, whether you ride horses or you hike or you mountain bike. Like we all we're really lucky to have Conkle Park. So for me, this is about protecting something that we all really care about and protecting it for future use, doing the things that we all like to do. So if this bylaw is supported, as we just talked about, I think the next step when we do our Trails Master Plan is to come together and all of us from all of the groups and figure out how we can all continue to work together. We already are, but put that in writing, put a sign up that says we're all here to use this park. I think that would be a really good thing. And we can all agree that we do want it protected for the future. We don't want motorized vehicles on it. And we want to create trails that are marked so it doesn't become a free-for-all and the mountain get eroded. And that way we're protecting the ecosystem and we're protecting it for future generations. So I'm really happy with this, and I hope you all are too. And I think it's a really good thing for our community, really positive, and I think it needed to be done, and I'm glad that we had the discussion tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, I think I need to remind council that those sentiments are certainly well received, but as a council, we're here to discuss the issue amongst ourselves. We're not here to essentially suddenly make an address to the audience. So in future, we're going to try and restrain ourselves. I know, it's okay.
Speak to the public.
So, yeah, we're not really here to just sort of turn to the public and...
Aaron, you did a very, very good job of that.
But you did a
Congratulations.
great job, okay? Thank you very much.
Wasn't
So we've
intended
had a
to-
mover and a
That was awesome.
seconder. You seconded,
Brilliant.
right, Councillor Trainer? Oh,
Yes,
Councillor
second your
Boot, you
comments.
finally remember what you want to say?
Thank
Okay.
you for pointing that out, Mr.
It's
Mayor.
okay, you're welcome.
So this was my second question. I'm not really sure who to address it to. It has to do with the grazing on the land. Earlier today, I went and had a meeting with our Director of Public Services about the forestry grazing current designation or zoning there. And he assured me that the last lease for grazing had expired 10 years ago. I asked him about the Crown land, and he said, you know, to his knowledge, there wasn't any grazing up there. It would take some time, though. I hope I'm...
I'll jump in if it goes awry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to ask. That it would take some time for the Crown even to get around to answering that. I mean, like after Christmas, certainly. But maybe my question, am I allowed to ask a question of the people that regularly use that?
No, it's outside, because that land's not being included in this topic, so.
Can I let you know what the question is, and then I'll just ignore that there are people out here that perhaps could answer the question? Yes or no? Whatever you say. So the question was, because we don't have that information from the Crown on whether there is active grazing on the Crown land, we know on our land, you know, if they can read the signs that they don't cross, but on Crown land, my question was, because there are regular users that use that land, have they seen a lot of cattle grazing up there? That's what my question was going to be.
Right, so we could look into that. I think it's a good question as we move forward in looking at what uses are. It's not necessarily the decision of council tonight won't be a pivotal factor, but it's a good point to keep in mind as we're looking at what allowable uses are and if there's changes that need to be done.
Okay, the reason I went to speak to Mr. McIntosh is the initial question I asked him is, if we change to a park designation from grazing and agriculture, does that mean that cattle grazing will no longer be allowed in that area? And the answer I got was yes.
In the park.
In the park. And that's why I went on to ask him about the Crown land. But as much as Councillor Barkwell said, the cows don't know if they're on Crown land or if they're on municipally zoned parkland. That's where I was going with this.
Okay, Councillor, go ahead. CEO, did you have a response at all?
I would suggest that the fact that we haven't had the conversation is likely because it's not an active large amounts and it hasn't been brought to our discussion, and we can certainly engage in some conversation with the province and find out what the situation is, and it can come back to council if we determine that it's more than what we're thinking.
Okay. I just wouldn't want to have to, put a fence up or anything like that.
Exactly. But council can pass a resolution to allow, if it was determined that it was more than what they're thinking it is, in the same way that you're allowing bicycling and everything else, you can actually state that to the extent that it is, if that's what council decided to, that it needed to be stated because it was a bigger issue than anticipated.
Okay.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is part of this conversation because it's all well and dandy. We have a park there, but if you've got it has to complement the Crown land as well. The two uses, I think, need to be complementary to each other. When we talk about trail proliferation and the erosion on that mountainside and everything like that, and part of the park. The next step of creating a park is that and the trail master plan is everything that we can have some sort of control over that. That straight line isn't going to stop all that from happening. So we have to be in dialogue with the Crown, the province. We have to get them. We have to go forward together with the province on this, and it's within Summerland, and. you know, and so I don't want us just to pass an OCP designation and start, you know, finding the crown because they're not using our the right use for the land. We have to work together with them. So I think it is part of the conversation. And I just want to add that you know it's the land, you know, the municipal land in general. It is parkland, and that's what it's used for. The intent is to continue using it for the same purposes, and it's just recognizing the current use of that land by what we're doing today. It is used as a park. What anybody would think of a park use is not used for grazing or agricultural. So we're just recognizing reality. That's what this change is. It's just to recognize reality, and it has brought up some interesting issues, as Councillor Traynor brought up as we're moving forward. There's obviously some user group conflicts up there. That again, we're going to have to resolve it within the community through dialogue and with everybody talking to each other. So it's you know, establish some trail etiquette, and but you know, we can do all that. We can do all that. We've got this big beautiful park here now that we can you know, we can move forward on. But sorry for being a bit of a windbag there. But there
So
you go.
just to clarify, because I must not have been very clear. I think what I was attempting to say was exactly what you just said, is that there needs to be dialogue, and that's all part of knowing that there needs to be far more dialogue as we're moving forward for the actual intricacies of the uses and preservation. But what we're doing now, the designation of the park, is basically trying to keep status quo at this point in time until we move forward. And
Okay. All in favor? Motion carries, none opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, moving ahead to councillor reports. Starting with-
Nope.
We've got one more.
14.2.
Oh, gee, how did I manage to do that?
That's okay.
14.2. I tried, okay. 14.2, road closure and removal of highway dedication on 12406 Blackbourne. Mr. Planner.
This is just up for adoption. It's to close this portion of road
Sorry.
so a property can acquire it and subdivide.
so last meeting, or council had passed the first 3 readings. It was advertised per statutory requirements, and now it's ready for adoption. I don't believe that we received any correspondence on the matter. No.
Councillor Carlson.
I will move that the road closure and removal of highway dedication at 12406 Blackbourne Avenue, bylaw number 2016-039, be adopted.
Okay, seconded, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? I guess not. All in favor? Motion adopted. Thank you. Carried. Moving on to 14.3, official community plan amendment, 11714 Quinpool Road.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an OCP amendment and rezoning. The application is to rezone from administrative to low-density residential and rezone from institutional to residential duplex housing. And in this particular case, the property is located on Quinpool Road. There was a request to make it into a daycare, a large daycare, years ago. And the property was designated as administrative and zoned to allow that. And there was, because there's a list of uses in the institutional zone, there was a covenant placed on the property limiting it to being used as a daycare. The daycare no longer exists, and the property owners want to just put it back to the way it was, which was designated as low-density residential, as are all the other properties in the area, and zone it back to duplex, which is the same as all the properties in the area. So essentially taking it out of the daycare institutional bracket and putting it back to residential. And the application is recommended.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Planner? Councillor Peak?
Yes, Mr. McIntosh, did we receive any correspondence from the neighborhood around this application?
We have not, but it hasn't been circulated until it gets first reading, and then we'll send it out to the neighbors.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Someone like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Peak?
the official community plan amendment bylaw number 2016-044 be introduced and given first and second reading by title only, that the same that the zoning bylaw amendment be introduced and given first and second reading by title only, and the public hearing be held on December 12, 2016 to receive public feedback on bylaws number 2016-044 and 2016-045. And that if the bylaws on those are adopted following the public hearing scheduled for December 12, 2016, the covenant KM 94421 registered on title for 11714 Quinpool Road, legally described as Lot 1 DL 3640 ODYD, Plan 2913, be removed.
Thank you, Councillor Peak. Seconder, please. Councillor Carlson. Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Booth.
I just have one question of our Director of Development Services. Request rezoning from institutional back to the original zoning, R1, and then that scratched out RDH. So is RDH the original zoning?
The original zone, Mr. Mayor, was actually R1, which doesn't exist in our zoning
Oh, I
bylaw
see.
anymore.
Okay.
That was a bylaw back in 1988.
So kind of the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Unopposed. Thank you very much. Now we can go ahead. Councillor reports. Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've done other things, but the ones I would highlight is I've done the Heritage Commission, attended their meeting. Good discussion, and we had a presentation from Kylie on the mosaic installation. I thought that was very interesting, and I make note there's been discussions from other groups that have had that presentation as well. So I've had discussions in the community. That'll be very exciting for 150th anniversary celebration. And I know that as myself as well as other councillors attended the Citizens on Patrol luncheon, and that was so well received. I want to thank the fire department for hosting us, and the OPP and the staff for making it possible. It was very nicely done. And the Citizens on Patrol are a wonderful group. We're very proud to have them, and they do great work for our community.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Since we weren't allowed to give our
How many
report
pages
last,
do you have?
last time.
You were
It's been a
pretty
busy
long-winded
month.
a few minutes ago.
It's been a
You
busy
gonna
month.
keep that up, are you?
First of all, I want to say about the skate park, I'm disappointed, like I'm sure we all are, that we didn't receive that Canada 150 grant. But I think other opportunities will come up, and we'll be ready for them. And in the meantime, we just need to keep working to raise funds, and donations are being accepted at Municipal Hall and online. You get a tax receipt for it. And we got the new T-shirts, so I'm wearing the T-shirt today. And hats, they're on for sale. So they went on sale at Light Up on Friday night. They raised $1,500 on Friday night, the first day of sales. So that's great. So it's available now. You just go down to the Aquatic Center and buy your swag, and you're in business.
How many hats was that?
How many
That's
hats?
a lot of hats.
Well, I don't know. It could be more. It could be in T-shirts too.
T-shirts are 20.
I'm just thinking we need to triple the price.
Yeah. Just buy more hats. Right. Earlier in the month, I attended an Arts Council meeting in my capacity as the council liaison, and I want to recognize the work the Arts Council did for Light Up with their new display on Wharton Street there, and that Christmas tree all lit up by the roundabout. It looks great. And I also want to congratulate Diane Hildebrand for being appointed the new chair of the Arts Council, and I'm pretty confident she'll steer the Arts Council through this challenging period of transition for them, so that's great. November 16th, I attended as an alternate for Councillor Carlson the Okanagan Regional Library Board meeting in Kelowna, where they presented their strategic plan, and I encourage everybody to take a look at their strategic plan because it's very interesting. It is really short and to the point, so it's quite an interesting strategic plan to take a look at. I also attended the meeting of the Local Immigration Partnership Council, where myself, along with a councillor from Oliver, Petra, Ventimiglia were appointed co-chairs of the LIP Council. The LIP Council, is, as you may know, was formed in 2014 to help immigrants settle and integrate in the South Okanagan better. And it meets 4 times a year. It draws members from all levels of governments throughout the region, social employment agencies that service immigrants, and community stakeholders like the Chambers of Commerce. And so their studies have shown that it takes 15 years for an immigrant to integrate into the community. And so the LIP Council wants to reduce that to 10 years within the next 5 years. And they're taking a social impact approach where all these different organizations which service immigrants are working towards that same goal. So rather than they all have their separate goals. So it's a really interesting project, and I'm proud to be co-chair of that. I also want to say that the Summerland Refugee Sponsorship Group held its AGM, and we recapped the activities of the past year, elected a new board, and reviewed our options for sponsoring another family in 2017. So that's in the plan. So we'll put an application in. And I also attended the Citizens on Patrol lunch, and I was speaking with some of the long-time people on it. It was about how a lot of them are saying there's a lot less vandalism today in Summerland than there was when they first started out 10 years ago, and there's different reasons for that, both good and bad. You know, some kids are spending more time on video games, but also I like to think that there's more respect and appreciation in the community. That's why the news of the vandalism and theft of the ice sculptures and displays from Light Up was kind of disappointing, and I think that's just the action of the few. We don't really do this in Summerland, so. And that's all. That's all I have.
Oh, yeah. That's all I have. Councillor Carlson.
A couple weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to go to the BC Ministry of Agriculture's first annual, they're hoping, Agriculture, Agri-Food and Seafood Conference up in Kelowna, and it was phenomenal. I don't know how many speakers they had, and they had about three people per panel. They had 4 rooms at a time, and they had 4 sessions in the day. So there were people from all over the country, and they came and presented on every topic you could ever imagine, discussing genomics to export markets to food packaging and food waste. It was very, very worthwhile and really inspiring, and so that was really nice to see. And Christine Petkow from the Chamber was also there, and her and I went to a session on agri-tech, and there were some folks who do invest in good ideas when it comes to agri-tech, and it was really interesting to listen to them, and I think there's some great opportunity. It sounds like it's a flourishing industry right now, and we should go and knock on some doors down in the Silicon Valley, because I have a feeling there might be some folks that want to come and hang out with us up here in Summerland. So that's where I would like to focus some of our energy over the next little while, because I think it would be silly not to. And tomorrow I'm going to another similar but different, there's an irrigation session all day long up in Kelowna, and there's workshops, and should be quite interesting as well. So that one, I guess we'll report on that next time.
Councillor Booth, thank you, Carl.
I just wanted to expand on what Councillor Carlson just said about the session tomorrow, because I'm also going up, hoping to catch a ride with you, Councillor Carlson. It is put on by the Irrigation Industry Association of BC, but it's also sponsored by the Okanagan Basin Water Board and by Blue Ecology. And there are some fairly significant speakers, one of them being Bob McDonald from Quirks and Quarks, talking about his global water perspective. And then more, like closer to home, is Chief Aaron Sam of the Lower Nicola Indian Band. And the day will cover a number of interesting topics, including preserving our ecosystem in terms of water, cultural values in terms of the First Nations, and how to build water resilient communities. So I'm also really looking forward to that. Not so much looking forward to the budgeting sessions that have begun with the RDOS. I find those interesting but long days, and We have another 2 coming up this week.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad you're looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
good.
They're just, well, anyways. So that's all I'm going to say. It's been a very busy month. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Just briefly, I was at a Museum Society meeting, and then a group from the Museum Society had a look at the log building down in Trout Creek with an eye to see what it would cost and explore what places in the community it might be appropriate if it was to be cost effective to what's the word, move it. We also attended the Citizens on Patrol. Thank all those people for keeping an eye on helping keeping Summerland. It's usually either the first or second lowest crime rate in BC every year, year after year. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we like living here. And then I attended the Business After Business on Main Street, which was an interesting one in that it's great to see that all these artists working as a collective. I think they said there was 53 in that gallery. And Councillor Peak was there, and it's just great to see the community behind it. Our arts and cultural community is there even before we had a arts and cultural community center. And enjoyed the film put on by the Chamber of Commerce on the new economy and credit union, sorry. Yes, CUC credit union. And maybe Councillor Traynor has more on that.
Thank you. Councillor Traynor.
All right, thank you. We also had another film night last week, the Summerland Healthy Communities Initiative. We had our, I believe, 4th or 5th movie night, and this was our most attended one. It was about mental health, and we had some really good discussions afterwards. Our final movie night is in January, and that's where we're going to be showing the David Suzuki Diaries. So I'm looking forward to that one, and I think that overall these have been really successful, and we've gotten some really good ideas out of them, which we'll be sharing once the movie series wraps up. I attended many things that the other councillors did, and I also attended Light Up the Vines on Saturday night. It was lots of fun. We went to 6 different wineries, and it's really interesting how many people come from the Lower Mainland and Kelowna and West Kelowna and Penticton. And I heard a couple of people say, we wouldn't miss this. We come every year, so it's a really awesome event for Summerland and really showcases all our wineries. So it was lots of fun. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any members of the public like to make any comment at this time? The media? Susan? John? Okay. Very good. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much.